to the channel, and welcome to episode 6 of the Sunday Sum Up. Hope you had a great week. Today is Sunday, March 27th, 2022. Don't know why I said all that. First, I want to start off by saying to anybody, the music lovers out there, Taylor Hawkins passed away on Friday, I believe, and I was a big fan of his, big fan of the Foo Fighters, and that was a bummer for me. Taylor Hawkins, I think, is one of the best drummers, or was one of the best. He was actually my second favorite, next to behind Neil Peart, who also passed away recently. So just sucks. And then I just wanted to give a shout out. You know, anybody who is a Foo Fighter fan out there, I feel your pain. You know, I saw them live, and I'm thankful that I got to see them live. But it just sucks. I was bummed. But I don't want to start it off too much on a downer. So let's go ahead and get into this news. Let's go through some movie stuff first, and then we'll get into the gaming. And there's a lot of stuff. I'm gonna dive into some shit today. There's some things I want to get into because I was watching a lot of videos this week and listening to a lot of conversations, reading a lot of articles. Probably the most that I ever have this week, and I don't know why. I just felt myself like really diving in. Any spare time I was, checking out either a video, I was reading an article. So there was a lot of things going around. It really is not huge news in terms of things that happened this week. There's a couple of little bangers in there, but it's just more about conversations that are going on, particularly with microtransactions. So we'll get into that in a few. So let's kick it off with so I watched the Kenobi trailer, and this one's been sitting on the back burner for me. I keep forgetting, and I have a really bad habit of compartmentalizing my brain, where I will think of something when I'm not in front of the camera, and I'll think to myself, oh, remember to talk about this. Yeah, go watch this trailer, or this is coming up. And then I'll go do the thing, and I'll just completely space it out. And then I'll come in here on like Sunday, and I'll just completely fucking forget. But so the trailer came out a couple weeks ago, and I watched it the day it came out a couple of times, actually. And I just kept forgetting to talk about it. And it's kind of a big deal because Star Wars is such a big brand, even though it sucks. For me as a former Star Wars fan, I really have no interest in what's going on with the IP right now. I think Disney has just completely ruined Star Wars for me. But if you like Star Wars, and if you're excited for Kenobi, this isn't me trying to convince you that you're wrong or whatever. This is just my thoughts. So I watched the trailer, and right off the bat, it starts off with Ewan McGregor, his version of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and from the prequels. And I thought, okay, here we go. Immediately, it was nostalgia time. The prequels came out, I was in my late teens, early 20s. Jeez, I can't remember. It's been so long. I know I was right around 20 years old. And so for me, it immediately took me back, because I was one of the people who actually liked the prequels. They get a lot of shit, and they sure as hell look a lot better now with everything that's going on with Disney. But at the time, they got a lot of scrutiny, and I totally understood. I thought it was a CGI fest. I thought the story was okay. I'm never really a fan of prequels. I'm just not. I don't like prequels in general, and that's across the board. This is a brand and an IP that I actually really, when it came out, I really liked and I was excited for. But even then, I was like, it's a prequel. We already know what's going to happen. I know the ending. So that's, I don't know. Take that as you will. For me, that's a personal thing. You may love prequels. I think a spinoff is a little bit better. I like those. They can jump the shark and do something completely different, and they can take a character that's beloved and really flesh them out if it's done right. So I think I prefer them more than a prequel. But back to this trailer. So we see Obi-Wan, right at the beginning, and then after we see him, and he's got the binos up, and he's checking out a little young Luke Skywalker hanging out, and on his auntie and uncle's farm on Tatooine. And it just, to me, right away, I was like, okay, that was the first, like, they drew me in with that. But I'm so used to what Disney does, and I'm so used to what Hollywood is doing right now. The second I saw that, I knew it was going to happen. I'm like, okay, we're going to see Kenobi, and then we're not going to see him again. And I was right. 100%. The entire rest of the trailer is all these other characters from now. I don't know the canon. I'm not the I'm not the type of fan that read a bunch of books, the comics. As I said before, I'm not a comic reader. I don't watch like cartoons that much. You know, I'm not against them, but they don't really grab me like they used to. So I know there's like what's it called? It's called like the Clone Wars or something like that. But anyways, there's like a couple of cartoons that Star Wars fans really love, and from my understanding, they're really good. And there's a bunch of offshoots and different stories and characters, expanding the universe. I got no problem with that. For me personally, though, I did not know any of these characters, and I felt like they were just showing me Ben Kenobi just to get me to overlook these characters that I'm sorry, not overlook the characters that they're trying to get me there for. Like, they want me to watch the new shit, and it's, to me, the writing for the new characters it's poor writing, it's poor character development, it's poor dialogue, it's just poor quality across the board. So the rest of the trailer for me, it was like, I don't know these people, and I don't really fucking care. And furthermore, I don't like prequels, so that was kind of going into it already. I'm like, we know what happens. We know Luke grows up to become a Jedi Master, and then after that, he fucking turns into a grumpy old man who is a recluse on an island. Fuck off. But at least the OG trilogy, we already know the good shit. So we just know what's going into it. And another thing that it always just doesn't work for my brain to see when we see the technology that was being used in Star Wars, the OG trilogy from the 70s and 80s, that technology back then was obviously cool. It was groundbreaking, it was sci-fi. This, to me, is they've injected so much futuristic, current-looking special effects, which that's not a bad thing. I mean, I'm thinking more of like the tech that's inside of the lore. So like the special effects look cool and all, but it's like inside the universe of Star Wars, they're using shit that, where was that in the original trilogy? Well, obviously, the original trilogy was so long ago that there's that gap. But in my brain, it just doesn't click for me. So when I see this modern looking technology being used in a prequel before the OG trilogy, it's just one more thing where I'm like, it doesn't work. It's been too long. It doesn't work. And they're not using, they're trying to blend in sort of this newer technology that they're bringing in, like I would say like the more standard sci-fi that you see today. They're using those same sort of technologies in the Star Wars universe, and it just doesn't fit, especially for a prequel. If you wanted to fast forward the time 100 years or 1,000 years, no problem. My brain, everything works, but logically it just doesn't make sense. So that always bothers me. But when you see all of these characters that I don't know, that I don't really care about, and then it's just a bunch of flashy shit, I felt nothing. I really didn't. I thought it was lame. I'm not looking forward to this. I might watch it, like episode 1, just to see, but I just doubt it. I really do. I didn't watch Boba Fett, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I chose, I was like, okay, am I going to watch this? Am I going to review it for the channel? And I ended up watching someone's review of like episode 1, another YouTuber. And I don't like to review stuff I don't like watching reviews from other creators and then doing a review myself. I want to watch it, let it be, just my thoughts, no sort of preconditioned thoughts or opinions or notions based on someone else's, someone that I like. Because, let's face it, we all watch YouTube. We watch the creators that we like, and we enjoy listening to their opinions. Those opinions can be impressed onto you, and then you'll just sort of, and just naturally, people will just repeat that shit. There's nothing wrong with that. but I know that I do that. I know that, because I hear someone talking, I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you're right. You're so right. This shit sucks. Or, oh my God, this shit's amazing. You're so right. I want to have it completely just me. I don't want anyone else's thoughts. So once I watched a couple of reviews of Boba Fett, and I was laughing my ass off because to me it looked like trash. And then when I listened to the reviewers that I trust, it sounded like garbage. And and some of like the Vespa scooter shit, that scene, oh my God, it was a joke. So, but I probably will not watch this. This is going to be a hard pass for me, most likely. Okay, moving along here. So The Boys season 3 trailer dropped. I can't. That one kind of went underneath the radar there. It may have been even before last week's show. I know it's recent, within the last like couple weeks, but I didn't even know about it. So I went back and watched it, and so I thought season 1 of The Boys was good. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the gritty, dirty sort of. I'm trying to think of the way to say it. It's just sort of like it's a parody of superhero movies and cliches, which I appreciate, because superhero, the genre itself has been it's pretty wrung out right now. I think there's a lot of superhero fatigue, and this show was it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, the first season, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought season 2, going into it, let's see if they can carry or maintain that momentum. No, I thought season 2 was trash. I thought the whole thing sucked through and through, minus a couple of I won't even call them high points. A couple of moments that I actually liked. I did not like season 2. I thought it sucked. And going into this trailer, I was like, okay, let's see. I mean, most likely it's going to continue down the trash agenda, because that's really what it was. That's really what bothered me. The story and plot itself I thought was poor. It did not feel as tight as season 1, and the plot lines and storylines just sort of felt meandering and boring. And then on top of that, they had the agenda all up in there and PC shit. And I was like, dude, and they were making fun of PC culture and then doing PC culture. They were calling out agenda, and, the girls get it done. They made a joke of that. And early on in the season, I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know what? That's fun. Poke fun at yourself, Hollywood. It's the best way to get fans back. And then the rest of the season, like throughout the season, they kept reestablishing those sort of agenda and little sayings and shit as the basis of their story. And so it just fucking fell on its face for me. So I thought it sucked. And like I said, there was more than just that. The agenda shit always turns me off, no matter what. If there's going to be any sort of agenda in there and Hollywood bullshit, or political bullshit, I'm going to check out pretty quick. But this one was also just, the story was lame. I just thought the story and the characters were being stupid. So it looks like Butcher. So that was kind of the big note. Was like, Butcher's now a soup. We see him. He's got the same powers as Homelander. That's really the only thing of note that I saw. The rest of it was a lot of just blood and gore and shock and awe. So if you're looking forward to The Boys, and if you like it, I hope you enjoy it. Just for me personally, there's so much. The new shows that are coming out and the new movies, to me, it's a hard pass on so much of the new shit, because Hollywood's fucking lost their minds. And, take that as you will. You may see that or hear me say that and say, oh my God, you're looking at it through the wrong lens. You need to unplug your brain and have fun and all this other shit. And it's like, listen, I want to do that. I want to just sit down and enjoy a TV show or a movie, and I want to escape. Movies, the silver screen, and video games, they're made. That's escapism. That's what it is. A book is escapism. You crack open a book from your favorite author, and they grab you in that first page, and then from there on, when you read that book, you want to just dive into the world, hear what the author, what their methods are, how they're going to present the story to you. Maybe the cadence and the way they use the way they write is it makes you feel comfortable, and you're just, but no matter what that is, it's designed to pull you out of your life and take you into this fictional, or, you know, and not everything's fiction, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that a good writer will take you away from your day to day, and they'll take you and transport you to a place in your mind. And that is the same thing that happens with TV shows, movies, and video games. And when you take current political activism bullshit, and let's be very clear about one thing. I don't want to fucking right-leaning shit. I don't want left-leaning shit. I don't want any of it. Zero. I want zip. Okay? Everything is so politicized these days, and everything is such a social issue that I want to fucking, like, I have it on a day-to-day basis in my real life. I don't want to fucking deal with it when I'm watching a show or I'm playing a video game. I'm playing those things to escape. And when I see things like The Boys, when I see things like, you know, what Disney is doing with Star Wars and Marvel, just fuck off. I'm going to turn it off. I'm just going to turn it off. Like I said, I had fun watching Hawkeye because it was comically bad, but it's still bad. You know, it's still a show that I would not have watched had it not been for this channel. So I'm not really looking forward to that one. All right, let's move along here. So this one was weird. So Keanu Reeves has been pulled. His movies have been pulled from all streaming services in China. I don't know shit about the reason why was because he's doing a Tibetan show or whatever. He's doing some sort of festival or whatever that's focusing on like Tibet culture and the Dalai Lama and stuff. I don't know shit about that. I don't know shit about the political shit between Tibet and China. No idea. And I'm not going to pretend to. But it was I thought it was interesting. I thought it was something to take note of, that simply because he is doing some sort of benefit concert and China has a problem with that. It reminded me so much of the John Cena thing, where John Cena, he said Taiwan was a country, and China came out and was like, you know, John, what the fuck you doing? That's our country or whatever. And that's, again, more political shit that I don't really want to give a shit about. But then to see that punk fucking just begging for forgiveness, dude, that was despicable. I can't stand John Cena. I think he's everything that Hollywood elitists are that is wrong. That's wrong with them. To beg another country for forgiveness, dude, you need to fucking check yourself. Like, that's some bullshit. That to me, I was like, ugh, gross. But I thought this was interesting. This was on the actual Hollywood Reporter article, and I'm not really a Hollywood Reporter reader, but when I saw that, I saw it come across my feed, and I was like, what? They pulled John Wick? They pulled Neo off of, I mean, he's a big name. He's a big draw. But I started reading this article, and this is by Patrick Bresky on the Hollywood Reporter, and it says Keanu Reeves hit with black backlash from Chinese nationalists over Tibet benefit concert. Social media users in China have called for a boycott of the actor's films, including the recently released The Matrix Resurrections. Keanu Reeves has incurred the wrath of nationalists in China after it emerged earlier this week that he will be performing at an upcoming benefit concert for Tibet. I don't know. I don't want to read that because I can't pronounce some of the names. The latest Matrix movie had flopped already. Prior to revelations about Reeves' involvement in the pro-Tibet event, the film opened, they're just talking about money, don't really care. But I was reading something else that I thought was interesting. Yeah, so right here, this is something that I actually didn't know. So it says here, the potentially more concerning factor for Reeves' career is whether he becomes a de facto persona non grata in the Chinese entertainment landscape going forward. Many Western celebrities have seen their professional brands iced out of China's massive entertainment market after voicing support for Tibet in the past, which is some bullshit. Richard Gere has been banned from Chinese screens for years over the vocal support of Tibet, a fact that he has said caused him to lose movie deals in Hollywood, where studios previously coveted the growth potential of the China market. Brad Pitt was also banned for nearly 2 decades after starring in the film 7 Years in Tibet in 1997. Lady Gaga has effectively been prohibited from performing in the country ever since she met with the Dalai Lama in 2016. Man, this is fucking crazy. Like I said, I don't really give a shit about Hollywood actors and the little problems and trials and tribulations. A lot of the shit, most of the shit is self-inflicted wounds, so I don't really care. But I mean, I'm no Lady Gaga fan, but man, like I didn't even know that. That's so crazy. That you know, and furthermore, I think the crazier part is China doing what they're doing. That makes sense. You know what? They're trying to. That's their business. They can. We can do what we want here in America. You know, the government does the shit that they do. But I mean, I understand that from China's perspective, and that's okay. I don't agree with it. I think it's fucking whatever. But to me, it's like, okay, you do your thing. Fucking, you're across the ocean. Who gives a shit? The thing that got to me was how Richard Gere, who was a huge actor, you know, when I was growing up, he's a big draw. He's a big name. And I always wondered why I hadn't seen him around in a long time. He sort of just, you know, fizzled out. No, and if this is the reason, and Hollywood is not hiring this guy because they know he won't be a big draw in China, fuck you, Hollywood. That's the problem. That's why I have a problem with Hollywood right there. That's the shit. They pray to the money gods, and that shit's gonna get you. Trust me. That shit always come around. It's always gonna get you at some point. You cannot cater to money like that. You know, especially for another country. Like, this is a whole separate country, and you're fucking blacklisting American citizens just because another country said so. And that's the fucking world we live in right now. That's where we're at right now, and that's acceptable common practice in Hollywood. Dude, Hollywood. That's why I don't like you. That's why, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like Hollywood. I mean, if you're still a fan of Hollywood, and you know, you're all for these types of things, that's whatever. I don't agree with you, and we can disagree, and that's okay. But I just don't understand how this can just be acceptable behavior. And furthermore, like I said, I mean, you know, I don't care about, you know, Hollywood actors in regards to, like, you know, when they do something stupid, they get a DUI, or, you know, they freak out on stage and they fucking lash out at fans. It's an interesting sort of watch, you know, it's like, oh, that's funny. It's whatever. They lost their cool or whatever. But stuff like this is a big deal. No one talks about it. No one's talking about this shit. It's crazy to me. Just absolutely crazy. So, but yeah, Keanu, you know, I guess he's on the chopping block. He's the next in line. It's interesting, you know, like I said, Richard Gere was a big draw back in the day, and Keanu is a big draw now. I think Resurrections was definitely a sign that it's better for him to continue with new shit. Don't try to resurrect shit like The Matrix. I thought that was a poor move. I didn't like the idea of it when it first came out. I did my review on the trailer, but I had my doubts, you know, right then. And obviously the movie flopped. I didn't see it. I don't have any interest in watching it, but I don't know. We'll see. And I hope that Keanu, let's be honest, he's a 100 millionaire. I don't know what he's worth, but he's worth a ton of money. So maybe this doesn't even bother him. It doesn't faze him. Maybe he's fucking done with acting. Good for him. But I just thought it was interesting that these fucking elitists, they kiss the ring of China. And it's like, at some point and it's all for money. And when the money goes away, you know this shit won't be happening. So that's how you know it's fake. All right. So that was really it for the TV movie stuff. That was kind of the things of note. So let's move along here. So I wanted to get into a quick correction from last week. I was talking about the Gotham Knights game that got a release date for October 25th. The studio that's making them is not WB Studio. It's not WB Games. That was actually Rocksteady. And so WB Studios, the Arkham game that they made was called Arkham Origins, and it was sort of like an offshoot from the Arkham trilogy that Rocksteady made. So Rocksteady made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight, and then in between, I think it was Arkham Knight and Arkham City, was Arkham Origins. So just wanted to clear that up. Got them mixed up. My bad. Wasn't trying to. But I did want to say that I'm still psyched for the game. I do recall though, because I did not play Origins at all. I played the 3 Arkham games. I did not play Origins. My understanding was that the story for Origins was better than the trilogy that Rocksteady made as a whole. So that's just my understanding. I didn't play it, so I'm not saying that it is, but that was sort of I remember that opinion going around a lot back when I was listening to media. So take that with a grain of salt. I'm just saying that the writers, I guess, wrote a cool storyline about and the Red Hood was the antagonist for Batman in the Arkham Origins game. So this new game, Arkham Knights, is being developed and written by the Arkham Origins makers, WB Studios. So I just wanted to get that out there. All right, moving along here. So Sony buys Haven Studios. This was on a couple of articles that I wanted to look at real quick. Let's see. That was on Games Industry, I think. Let me see. Here we go. This was on gamesindustry.biz. So Jade Raymond and Herman Holst on why Sony is buying Haven Studios. Quote, "We've been very impressed with the progress that Haven has made," end quote. So I'm not going to read this whole article. I think you should read this. This article was put up by Christopher Dring over on gamesindustry.biz. This is a good article. I read this article. It talks a lot about just why Sony purchased Haven Studios. It talks about there's lots of quotes, and it sounds like it's a good marriage between Sony and Haven. Haven Studios was founded by one of the founders, I should say. I think it was more than one person. Is Jade Raymond, and she is a name. Like, she is a big draw. Very talented woman. She has been involved, and I actually want to look at a little bit some of the stuff from her catalog here, because it's impressive shit. And to have Jade Raymond in your stable, this is a big get for Sony. Haven Studios as a whole, they've only been together for like a year, and they're making a game for that will now be a Sony exclusive. This is a good thing. I mean, this is good for Sony, I should say. Good thing for Sony, and this is a good thing for Haven Studios, because now they're going to have that Sony marketing money. They're going to have that Sony backing, the Sony support. So I think it's a good thing. But to me, when I heard Jade Raymond, I was like, wait, I know that name. That's a big name. And I immediately went and looked her up real quick. So here are the games that and here's her role. So 2002, The Sims Online. She was the producer, and she was the producer on Assassin's Creed, the original, that was working with Ubisoft. She was the EP executive producer on Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, and what was the other one? Oh, Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell, Blacklist, and Watch Dogs. So those were all Ubisoft. She was the executive producer, so she had some pull in that. So those games, I think Assassin's Creed 2 for me is my favorite. I think Brotherhood is the one that is probably it's Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and Black Flag. Those three, I could take any three of those. I think they're all special in their own way. Assassin's Creed 2's narrative, the storyline was fantastic. I loved it. The characters, everything. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood went with a whole different sort of gameplay tech. Oh, what I'm trying to say. Oh my goodness. It's like just sort of a gameplay piece of the way the game was developed. They used Brotherhood as the name, but it was also because you were recruiting assassins throughout the game, and you could bring them in to help you in combat. And it was it was neat and innovative at the time. I thought it was very cool. It was really fun. You could upgrade your assassins. You could send them on missions, and then you upgrade their gear. And the stronger they got, the stronger that their help was, because it wasn't like they rolled with you all the time. It wasn't like you had a squad, but at critical moments when you're fighting, or when you're sneaking around, you could call in these Brotherhood members, and they would just pop out of a bush. They would come out of a wall, and they would come in and drop like 4 or 5 guys with just the press of a button. And I thought it was really cool. It was very innovative for the time. So I really loved Brotherhood. And the funny thing is I don't Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. I do not. That doesn't even sound like a thing. I'm wondering if that's a typo. I'm actually going to take a second to look at that, because I do not recall Assassin's Creed Bloodlines at all, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Assassin's Creed Bloodline, because it very well could be a game. Yeah, it is. Okay, Bloodlines. Video game, Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, 2009 adventure video game. Okay, all right, yeah. I just didn't recognize that, and I don't know what platform that was on. Let me see here. I won't get into it too much, but yeah, it was made by Ubisoft. So I don't even recall that game. So obviously I didn't play it. But regardless, Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Blacklist. I was not an OG Splinter Cell gamer when this game came out. This was actually the very first. Actually, that's not true. I tried playing a Splinter game. I don't know. It was on original Xbox. I don't remember which one. It might have been the first or the second, whatever. At the time, I was really into fast-paced first-person shooters, online racers, and that style of game just did not fit for me. The slow, methodical, sneaking around, not getting caught, that whole gameplay style, that loop was not my thing at the time. And I tried getting into it a few times. This never worked out for me. And then later on, when Blacklist came out, I was like, you know what? I want to try this game. It's getting some good reviews. It looks really cool, so I'm going to try it out. And I thought the game was really good. I really enjoyed it. I beat that game. I thought it was a really good game. But I understand that Blacklist was kind of a departure from the original style games, because you could run and gun, I guess. I didn't try that. I didn't do that. But you could run and gun a lot more in Blacklist. So the hardcore fans didn't like that about it. So if you're a hardcore fan, Blacklist may be like, oh, dude, that's a shitty game. I liked it. It's what I played. So she was involved in that. She's an executive producer, and she was also the EP on Watch Dogs, the first one, which I really liked. I thought the first one was good. The second one, I thought the gameplay was better, but the story was fucking trash. The characters were so annoying, didn't like it. And then she was also managing director on Assassin's Creed Unity. She was managing director on Far Cry 4. And then she was the Mighty Quest for Epic Loot. I didn't play that one, don't know shit about it. And then Star Wars Battlefront 2, she was the SVP group manager. So Jade Raymond, she has been involved in a lot in the past, and sort of in the gaming industry. She's a big name. So this is a good deal, or a good thing for Sony, and this is a big deal for, I think, Sony gamers. There's no surefire things. Any developer can make a shit game, and most developers have had games where they were just bangers, and then they dropped just a turd. And then you've had the vice versa, where a studio is making games that are like okay, and then boom, they just nail one out of the park. So it could go either way. This isn't a surefire bet that the next game, this game that Haven Studios is making, is going to be awesome. It's just I thought it was, it was of note because of Jade Raymond to me. All right, so let's move along here. Oh, and the other thing too, as I forgot. So this is actually a live service game. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a big live service fan, but it seems to me like everything is going live service. So that's sort of that bad taste, that just even the name, like, oh, it's a live service game. For me, I'm like, it kind of turns me off. But I think most people don't even realize that a lot of the games that are out right now are live service games. Like, by definition, even though they don't profess to be live service games, I think most games just are. So I've kind of come to grips with that as of late. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, if it's a Fortnite shooter, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with it. But maybe it could be something completely different. And hopefully it is. Hopefully, I prefer, I like narrative-driven stories. I prefer strong characters, strong performances, great game mechanics. I mean, I know that's like, oh, of course, who doesn't? I'm not one of those people, though, that's like, I don't need a story. I just want to play online with my friends. I just want to go online and Twitch stream and, go out there and fucking own a bunch of fools and show everyone how awesome I am. That's not really how I play. I don't even multiplayer that much, like against other, like PvP. I'm more of a PvE guy, player versus environment games. So we'll see. We'll see what this is going to be. So let's move along here. The next one is more workplace allegations. So this one, I don't know the studio. Like I don't know any names in the studio, but this is a big studio. It's called Moon Studios. They've made Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. It's a very popular franchise. It's Xbox exclusive. I never played it. Obviously, I don't have an Xbox, and I don't have Game Pass yet. But the game I always thought looked fucking rad. The graphics alone, like just the art style, was beautiful. And it's side scrolling. I think it's a side scrolling. I don't think it's a beat 'em up. It's more of like, I'm trying to think. All I know is it's like a side scrolling, which just means that it's 2 dimensions. You're not moving the camera at all. You know, you're just moving your character around, you know, Super Mario style, just like original Super Mario, or Contra style, where you're just moving the screen left and right and your character's just bouncing around. You don't move the camera or rotate from third person or over the shoulder or first person. So that's what that means. And I'm kind of lukewarm on side-scrolling games nowadays. I'm just not a super fan of them. Some of them look really cool, like this one. Like I said, this one graphically, Jesus, and the score, the sound really just sounded really good. I'm sorry, the music just sounded really good. So I think it's a cool franchise. I've just never played it. However, so let's go over to this VentureBeat article. Let me see here. Sounds like things are not going good. Oh, great. The article's not there. All right, so this is on VentureBeat. This was put up by Dean Takahashi, and I hate websites anymore. Every time I go in here and look at articles and start reading stories, it's just windows of fucking windows on the right. There's always like a little movie playing on the bottom right. And then the top has a fucking banner come down and the bottom has a banner come up. And the fucking screen is like this much of the screen is actually scrolling. And it's just a bunch of crap and you have to start Xing out. Ugh, fucking hate it. Oh. Anyways, let's move along here. So I'm not going to read this whole article. I thought there was a couple of things I did want to talk about here. So I want to read this first, just this first paragraph real quick. Gaming fans know Moon Studios for its amazing Ori games with beautiful art and emotional stories, but a number of current and former employees consider the Ori studio an oppressive place to work. That is according to GamesBeat interviews with Moon developers. Let's see here. There's some quotes in here that I wanted to get out there. Let's see. It is illuminating to see these allegations arose at a small company with all remote practices, a private company that treasures its independence and its anti-corporate culture. Still, the casual racism, sexism, and bullying amounted to what one developer said was, quote, death by 1,000 cuts. More fucking pop-ups. Close these down. Let's see. The developers took pride in their work and they loved watching the fan reactions when the game shipped, but many found themselves wondering if the results were worth it. Quote, we really created something special, and I know the only way I was able to reconcile it was I was able to watch people on Twitch and watch other people get motivated by it, and that was actually part of my healing process, end quote, said one developer. Quote, because maybe my suffering was worth it because other people felt something. In the end, I mean, so many of us were burned out, end quote. That sucks. You know, I mean, if you're in a fucking work environment that's, you know, quote, oppressive, or you feel stressed and you feel like you're being, you know, treated poorly and you're being pressured in ways you don't want to be, and just a shitty work environment, and then you're fucking reconciling it based on like the product that you make, like, well, at least we made a good product and people are happy, so I guess that's cool. That fucking sucks, dude. Like, that's not cool. And if this is what's true, and again, these are allegations, so this is not facts. In my opinion, you may hear these things and say, yep, that's what's going on. I don't feel that way. These are just allegations at this time. So I wanted to go a few more quotes here. So Moon developers told GameSpeed that they found the studio's culture oppressive. They alleged that the leaders used calls for an open and honest workplace as a pretense for abuse. The founders criticized the work of employees in public chats and were stingy with praise. So far, no one is suing or claiming unlawful behavior, but many workers are fed up with what they see as an inappropriate behavior by the founders. As an example, Mahler and Corral regularly made unprofessional and offensive comments. Tyler is the only person who is aware. Oh, I'm sorry. Quote. I think I said quote. Maybe I did. So, quote, Tyler is the only person who is aware of my devious plans to kill the Jews by making them work to death through game development, Mahler joked in a text chat that was available for anyone in the company to read. The context of the conversation suggested that Mahler was truly making a joke, but it's alarming to think he felt it was safe and appropriate to say such a thing in the company's chat. One developer said that chat was, quote, rough because the founders felt free to make jokes about their penis sizes. So it just sounds to me like... So these two guys, and there was a lot, I guess there's a lot of turnover. These two guys, Mueller and whatever, this other guy, Mueller and Coral, they are the founders. And if you read the article, and I suggest you do, this is a pretty good article, and it's pretty lengthy. And there's a full statement on here that Moon Studios actually comes out, and they do say, hey, we were making jokes. You know, maybe the way we talk to one another is offensive, and we probably shouldn't have done it in an open forum like that. No shit. But it sounds to me like you have two founders of a company. One of them is Jewish, and they say shit to each other. Like, they talk shit to each other. They make fun of each other. And it's one of those things where all of the jokes are on the table, where neither one of them is offended by the other's comments. It's just them ribbing each other. Now, people might hear that and say, that's still racist, and you can't do that. Listen, if everyone has their close friends that they can be completely honest with, and they'll make a joke about that person, then maybe it's their weight. Maybe it's the fucking fact that they're going bald, or maybe it's their race or whatever, or their gender. If that person is like, this is my friend, I don't care when they talk, if they make a joke about like that to me, I know it's all in good fun. That's my fucking brother, or that's my sister. I'll fucking die for them. Anybody else telling that person that they're not allowed to do that, or that they should check their friend, shut the fuck up. You know what? That's the problem. And I don't condone any sort of berating. I don't condone like racism or anything like that. But when two people are having a conversation, and then someone else overhears the conversation, and they start saying, you guys can't talk to each other that way, you're not even involved in the conversation. Move along. However, if you're having that conversation in front of people, if you're having that conversation on an open public forum like that, dude, you can't fucking do that. You just can't, because you're now sharing that conversation with, everyone involved. And furthermore, you're at work. Like, this isn't a bar. This isn't like a garage party where you're just hanging out and shit's, having drinks and you're just fucking getting a little raunchy. This is a job. This is a workplace environment, and man, you just can't do that. You just can't do that. I'm sorry. I don't care how close you are with your friends. I don't care what the fuck you guys talk about. You guys can make fun of each other's fucking gender and race and penis size and all that stuff. You can't do it at work. So this is going to be a hard lesson for these guys to learn. And it sucks because I would never subject anybody who's not in my circle, to like the way I talk to people. Like my friends, like when me and my friends, when we're getting together and it's like a guy's trip and we're just fucking talking shit and making fun of each other. And I mean, we're constantly just fucking ribbing each other. I wouldn't want to subject people. I wouldn't go to my job and do that. Like, I wouldn't do that, because it's not the right time. It's not the place. It's not the time. So fucking don't do it. But furthermore, if I was making fun of my friends, the fact that he's got, gray hair, and I'm like, hey, call him an old fucker or salt and pepper or whatever, and someone hears that, and I'm in a bar and they're like, you shouldn't talk to, that's ageist or whatever. Dude, move along, keep your eyes on your own paper. That's different though. That's not the same as this. This is workplace environment, and I'm not cool with it. So what a bummer. And I feel bad for the people, because not everyone's like that. And I think a lot of people forget that there is a line between where people are oversensitive and everything offends them. That's a real thing, and it's fucking annoying. But there's just people who are like, I don't want to hear fucking penis jokes, and it's funny because, there are jokes that I won't say, well, rest in peace, Grandma Janet, but I wouldn't have said in front of my grandma. I wouldn't have done that because that's my grandma. You just have a little respect, you have a little bit of reverence for them. And I had reverence for her, and I just wouldn't say shit in front of her. And like when she dropped an F-bomb out of nowhere, it was like, whoa, grandma, what the fuck? Dang, that's crazy. That's different. And I think a lot of people are like, it's like, that's not being oversensitive. That's not my grandmother being oversensitive. That wasn't her telling me that I needed to, I can't talk that way. You're not allowed to talk that way. It's like, no, that's my grandma. I have respect for her. She's an older woman. I'm not gonna talk in front of my grandma and my mother the way I would with my friends. I just don't. I wouldn't do that. And that's okay. And there are people that are just like you meet along the way in your life where it's like, you don't do that. You don't talk like that. You don't make sex jokes to some, 65-year-old woman. Now, if the 65-year-old woman or the 65-year-old man makes a sex joke in front of you, it's like, okay, you're cool with it, and that's fine. But I think that I think too many people they focus a lot on like, you're just being oversensitive. This to me is not anyone being oversensitive. This doesn't sound like, if these allegations are true, this doesn't sound like they're being oversensitive. It sounds like these two guys were talking some shit and they shouldn't have been doing it in front of these people. Close the fucking door to your office, give each other a hard time. It sounds like, because if you read the article, it sounds like they've known each other for a while. But yeah, I didn't, I feel bad for the people who get sort of roped into that, because I think there is sort of a culture of like, well, I just don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to look like that person. And that's not fair. No one should feel that way. You should be able to say like, listen, I don't want to hear that shit. Don't say that around me. And I think that should be respected in a workplace or in your home. Like if you go to someone else's home and you start saying shit and you start popping off with certain topics and, fuck this, and, and you start saying all this crazy curse words, it's okay for them to say, listen, we don't talk like that in my house. You want to talk like that? Go outside, down the street or whatever, but you can't get offended and be like, listen, it's freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want. It's like, no, you're in my fucking home. It's my rules. You can say whatever you want in your house, and I'll say whatever you want me to say in your house if I ever go there. But there is a time and place, and everyone understands that. I think most people have common sense in that regard. And I also think that there are people out there who are like the fucking word police, and you say something and it's like, you can't say that. It's like, shut the fuck up. Don't tell me what I can say and can't say. The word police I have no patience for people like that. I just don't. So, all right, so let's move along here. This one, not that big of a deal here. Godfall is coming to Xbox April 7th. So this is a Gamer Rant article. I mean, there's not really much to say about this one. I just thought it was interesting that this was a PlayStation exclusive. It launched, I think it either launched I think it came out during the launch window, or it launched with the PS5, but it was also a PS4 game. So, to me, this game, when I first saw it, I was like, this looks dumb. It seemed like a visual spectacle to show off the PlayStation's power and to show off like, oh, look at how cool games could look. The gameplay to me, when I saw it, looked very repetitive, very boring, very samey. It was basically a looter shooter like Destiny or Division, and then except it was melee combat. And then when the game came out, there was problems with the loot. There was problems with the gameplay loop itself. Everything, like nothing was working for this game. And I'm glad I didn't pay for it. I knew it wasn't my type of game to begin with, and I didn't think that it was going to do do well in the market, and it didn't. The reviews came out and they were pretty fucking savage. So, but it's coming to Xbox. I don't think Xbox fans are like, yay, finally I get to play fucking Godfall. This to me seems like a desperate move by Sony. Like, this looks like a shit, we need more sales. Maybe we can rope in a couple of people over on the Xbox consoles or PCs, but yeah. I mean, because I can tell you what, if you have a PC and you have a badass rig and you can crank the fucking settings to 11 on this game, it's probably something to show. It's something that, you want to look at. It looks really cool, very pretty. Everything's really shiny. But gameplay wise, no, just pass. So, but sorry, Xbox fans. You guys are gonna get. You guys are getting a shitty game. Well, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I say that like I know. I'm not saying I shouldn't say the game is shitty. It looks really shitty. So you're getting a game that looks really shitty. Okay, moving along here. Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. This game trailer came out a few days ago. I watched a couple of times. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. These movies came out when I was a kid, the original, and I'm one of the people that actually liked the second one too. Now I was a kid, so it was more Ghostbusters, and I was a kid. Looking back, I can see like, oh yeah, I can see why 2 is not nearly as good as the original, but it's still, I think it's still a good movie. So I can see going into, the second movie that when I was a kid, it was like, oh my God, I get to see the Ghostbusters all over again. But and there's still some one-liners from that movie that are classic. There's still some scenes from that movie that are classic, but it really wasn't the same quality as the first movie. The first movie is a fucking gem. Like that movie to me, in terms of writing, pacing, characters, I think it's one of the better movies out there that's ever been made. And it gets a misnomer of like, oh, it's this comedy, and really it's not. The original Ghostbusters is not a comedic movie. I'm sorry, it's not a comedy movie. It's a movie about, I guess you could call it a little bit of sci-fi fantasy, but regardless, it's based in reality, and there are some kind of more serious moments, maybe even a little bit scary if you're a kid. But the comedic hits in that movie, it's with a straight face, so there's no like, let's make them laugh. It's not over the top comedy. I think the comedy in the movie is just classic, so good. Anyways, back to the game. I watched the trailer. Ernie Hudson. Winston. God, I couldn't think of his name. So Winston's character, who was being voiced, and I think we don't see Winston in the game, but it is Ernie Hudson who is doing the narration for the trailer. But we do see Dan Aykroyd in the game. Now, the art style I thought is okay. To me, it looks like a more of a modern cartoon. And I thought that seeing Dan Aykroyd, hearing his voice, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's a draw. But I didn't think this looked very special. I didn't think it looked that good. So the gameplay to me, from what I can tell, it looks like a multiplayer only game. And you're going to have, I could be wrong, but you're seeing other Ghostbusters sort of, moving around on the screen. And while you're either holding your proton, what's it called? Proton pack. And then, I think it's right. Yeah. Proton pack, or the other meter reader thing. God, the famous one. I can't think of the names. It's been so long, but it looks like there's roles. There's classes. So I don't know if this is going to be, you can choose anything. You can either trap ghosts, shoot them and corral them with your weapon, or track them down, all with one character. But to me, just visually, it looked like you were going to be one of the three. You would be doing one of those three things, and you sort of had a job or a role, and you worked as a team to catch ghosts. I thought graphically it looked okay. The sound, they're using a lot of the trademark sounds from the original movies and stuff, so I guess it's kind of cool, but it didn't look like it was for me at all. I wasn't really, it kind of had like I'm trying to think of a game. It just had like a cheap feel to it. It just didn't feel, it just felt like, hey, we had this movie come out, Ghostbusters Afterlife came out, it did well. I'm sure now, let me be clear on this. This game was probably in development alongside the movie. I don't think the movie came out and then they decided to develop this game. This game looks pretty far along for that to be the case. So I believe this game was being developed at the same time or even before this movie came out, Afterlife came out. So I don't think that this is them sort of capturing after the fact. I think this is very intentional. Like they knew a movie was coming out. The game was green lit because this is a license thing. Ghostbusters is a license, so the studio had to get the okay to develop this game. So, take that as you will. I don't think that they're This isn't a knee-jerk reaction. Let's make a game because the movie was good. I think they're both being developed in parallel. So I don't want that to be confused there. I don't think that this was something where they're like, oh my God, Afterlife was great. Let's make a game real quick. That's not how game development works. It takes time. So, all right, moving along to the next bit of news. This is kind of a big deal for Witcher fans. So the next Witcher has been announced. This was on Games Radar. Let me pull that article up real quick. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about with this one. Number one, and I think it probably is kind of a bigger deal for, nerdy gamers, like a little more techie people, but they will not be using CD Projekt Red, who developed the Witcher trilogy, and Cyberpunk 2077. They used a system or an engine to develop those games called the Red Engine, and it's an in-house engine. They developed it themselves, which is not an easy thing to do. And the engine itself, just look at Witcher 3. The game looks amazing. Cyberpunk looks really good. I mean, Cyberpunk has its problems. Graphics really isn't one of them. I know it was a little sketchy at first, and I'm not talking about the technical bugs and shit like that. And there was some limitations like the water and things like that. To me, that had nothing to do with the engine. That had everything to do with them not fucking developing it right. Because if you look at the latest update for Cyberpunk and you compare it, and I've seen videos where they compare after the update versus when the game initially launched, there's so many things that they improved on. The engine can do it. They proved that the engine isn't the problem. It was the fucking development team. They rushed the game. It wasn't ready. So, and everyone knows that. Let's not harp on it too much. So they are actually dropping the engine, and they're going to be using an engine called Unreal 5. Unreal 5 is owned by a company named Epic. And so Unreal 5 is used in a lot of different games. And really, it's like the best way I can sort of describe it for other normies out there is you have an engine for like a car, because it's called the same thing. Let's just use that. So if you have a Ford motor, okay, and there are race cars out there who have Ford motors, right? In some instances, let's use like IndyCar. So IndyCar only has two engines that they use. There's like 30 some cars. There are, there's, I don't know, 15, 20 teams, but there's like 30 cars in the field, right? And the cars either have a Honda motor or a Chevy motor. Those are the only two options. Ford doesn't make one. Dodge doesn't make one. Mazda doesn't make one. These are the only two options. So, but the cars themselves, the teams themselves, they're not the same. The cars are different. The drivers are different, but they just happen to have only two choices for engines. In game development, it's kind of similar where you can have your own engine. You can go into making a game, developing a game like CD Projekt Red did, and they have their own engine that they built called the Red Engine. That's common. That's not crazy or anything. It's just maybe not as common as. Let me rephrase that. It's not as common as using a pre-made engine like Unreal Engine. So Unreal Engine they're on the 5th version. So it's been around for a really long time. It's a very popular engine. And really it's just it's the nuts and bolts to make a video game. And I don't know the technical shit because I'm not a developer, but you buy the engine and it has all these pre-made things that you can use, right? It's got everything ready to go so you can develop a game if you know how to develop a game. And CD Projekt Red, I thought, did a great job with their engine because the engine looks really good. You go back and watch, if you play Witcher 3 right now on like our brand new RTX, badass PC rig, the game looks fucking legit. And that's off the Red Engine. So them dropping the Red Engine to go to Unreal 5, I don't know. It's a little bit weird to me. I just don't see the need. Maybe they feel like it was time, and maybe in-house, we just don't know, but maybe the Red Engine is really hard to develop for. Maybe working with that engine is causing more problems than it's worth. I just don't see it. The result to me looks really good. So that was surprising to me. So they will not be using the Red Engine. They'll be using Unreal 5. And this came out in a tweet, which everything comes out in a fucking tweet these days. I thought it was on here. Let me see here. Oh, I thought it was there. Maybe it was a different article. So they tweeted a picture of this like medallion that, and if I'm not mistaken, because I'm not a huge Witcher guy. I played Witcher 3 for about 20 hours. I enjoyed it. Didn't finish it. I thought the combat was boring, but regardless, the character, one of the characters in the game, her name is Ciri, and she wears a medallion. If I'm not mistaken, this is her medallion. This is Ciri's medallion. And if anybody who has watched the Witcher show on Netflix, I watched season 1. I didn't watch season 2. I didn't hear anything good about it. It sounds like I didn't like season 1 because it felt like Geralt, Henry Cavill's character that he played, he felt like a side character to me. And my understanding is in Witcher season 2, he was nothing but a side character, which is bullshit because the Witcher trilogy is about Geralt. Now there's Ciri's involved, Yennefer's involved. There are these other characters that are there, but he's the main guy. So I didn't like that. Now the Witcher TV series is based more closely to the books. It's based close to the books. It's not based off the game. So listen, I get it. The Witcher itself originated from books that were written. It was turned into a game, then it was made into a TV series. I don't really care that they're all sort of their own thing. That's fine. But based on the game lore, this sounds like it's going to be a series story. And they have openly said that this trilogy, or The Witcher 1, 2, and 3, that trilogy, it's done. So we're not going to be seeing Geralt again. It sounds like maybe he shows up as like a side character, or maybe he shows up in the storyline at some point, but it sounds like they're moving away from that trilogy now, which is fine because my understanding that, Witcher 3 did gangbusters. It's still popular to this day. So, nothing wrong with that. The only thing that I'm curious about, because, they announced this and they're still like in the middle of dealing with Cyberpunk and dealing with just trying to update that game and getting it to where they promised it would be almost 2 years ago. So to me, I don't know. I just think that if I'm a betting man, I would say that you won't hear even a release date for this game for another 3 years. And you won't get your first delay because everything gets delayed for another 4 years. So my guess is we won't be playing the next Witcher game and for 5 years. Like there's just no way that I don't think their team is big enough, and for them to just sort of sneak this out, it's just a picture. I mean, there's no nothing right now. It's in early development. So, and I think and I hope that they've learned their lesson with Cyberpunk. They did make a comment about not doing crunch, the new studio heads, because I'm kind of let me back up real quick. So the studio has gone through some changes. A lot of the studio heads left. They went and started another studio called Rebel Wolves. The new studio heads are saying that they won't do the same thing that they did with Cyberpunk, and they won't have like crunch, industry term for working fucking crazy hours the last 3 months of a development for a game to get it out on the shelves and on platforms on time. So they're promising that they won't have crunch. Who knows what that means? That could mean fucking 6-7 years. Who knows? Games take a long time to develop. So, and crunch to me was always a part of the industry. I've heard that term for over a decade now. And now it's this sort of taboo term like, oh, crunch is a bad thing. We can't do crunch. Okay, whatever. It didn't take 7 years to make your game. It's fine. I don't care. And don't treat your employees like shit either. Pay them, compensate them. And I'm fine with it. But I just think that this game to me was kind of like, you're announcing this now? Like you're still trying to fix the mess that is Cyberpunk. So I don't know what to think of that. I feel like it's sort of I feel like it's almost like a publicity thing. You're in the middle of Cyberpunk trying to, you're trying to put the genie back in the bottle with that game, which never will happen. Cyberpunk came out, It wasn't ready. It flopped hard. It got fucking pulled off the Sony PlayStation Store. Everyone was shitting on this game. Tons of memes and stories and videos. It made a lot of fucking YouTubers money, I'm sure. But that, they have worked to fix that. But they're still in that fixing phase. There's still another year of updates. And furthermore, they being CD Projekt Red, they do a lot of DLC, downloadable content. So missions and stories and stuff after the original game has come out. They do that a lot. And that's kind of a thing for them. And they always make it free, which is always makes them like really big with fans and gamers and stuff. So you don't have to fork over some more money to play the additional missions and stuff and the additional storylines for characters. That's going to happen, I'm assuming, right? I mean, you have to assume that they're going to do the same thing for Cyberpunk that they did with The Witcher. And, why would you want to throw out The Witcher 4 right now? To me, I don't know. I think they're getting out over their skis. I don't think this was a good thing to announce at this time, because if you're trying to take the focus off Cyberpunk, it's not going to happen. Cyberpunk is still coming out, and you're still going to be launching DLC. Now, I'm not saying that they have announced that they are. I'm not speaking for them or making promises for them. I'm just saying if tradition stands true, then they will be releasing DLC for Cyberpunk, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I hope they're not trying to appease everyone just too quickly. Just fix fucking Cyberpunk. They're doing a good job, I think. The last update went over really well with fans. I still have the game. It's still on my my external hard drive. I will go back and play that game. I had some fun playing it. It definitely was buggy and broken. So there's things to fix in that game, but for the most part, the game was really fun to play. I just made a conscientious decision that I'm not going to play this game until it's completely ready to go, because I want to experience it as they intended. And it's their fucking fault that it came out like it did. Let's talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about. And I think this is a great time. Microtransactions. So there's 3 stories that I want to talk about real quick. I'm going to go through these stories, 3 different games that, to me, I think that they all encompass different parts of microtransactions and the issues with them. So bear with me here, because I do have a lot of thoughts on this one. I thought about doing a separate video, but with my times, my schedule and everything, it's just easier for me to put it into this video. So first off, let's talk about Rockstar. So Rockstar announces subscription service for GTA Online. So this was a PC Gamer article. Let me pull that up. 1 second here. So here we go. GTA Online is getting a new monthly subscription service, but only on consoles. GTA Plus will give subscribers monthly infusions of in-game cash, plus cars, cosmetics, and other bonuses, but not on PC. That's an interesting start right there. My guess is there are probably more gamers on console than there are PC. That just makes a numbers sense to me. I'm not saying that's the truth because I don't know, but it just makes more sense to me because, number one, more people, consoles are more accessible. They have a lower barrier to entry. So getting a console off of Best Buy shelf or ordering off Amazon is a lot easier than trying to build your own PC, and or cheaper than having to buy a pre-built PC. So it just makes more sense, right? Just numbers wise, I think that's probably the reason why. Now, in terms of a membership, so just so you know, if you don't, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, I think it came out like 9 years ago. I think it was 2013. Regardless, long time ago. This game came out on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. Then the console generation ended, and then the Xbox One and PS4 era began. They charged money for a new version or an updated version for those consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One. I don't have a problem with charging for some games. Now, here's where I think the line for me is, and this you may disagree. When a game is developed, and I'm going to use Dying Light because they announced a couple weeks ago that Dying Light is doing a remake or an updated version for current consoles. That game came out like 5 years ago. So bringing that game up to speed, to me, would be a bigger endeavor. It would probably cost more money. So if they charged money for that, I'd be okay with it. They didn't, and that's great. Good for them. Good for Techland, the developer of Dying Light. You guys did, something good by the fans that gains you or earns you a lot of respect with fans, and it goes a long way optically. So I'm cool with that. Grand Theft Auto, because it came out so long ago, when it came out and just sticking with the first iteration and the second, when it came out on PS3, it actually was right at the end of the console cycle. It came out right at the very end, and then it came out on PS4s and Xbox Ones. They were very close. So to me, with them being like right next to each other in time, just time frame wise, I thought that charging wasn't that cool. Like, I didn't agree with it, but whatever. It's fine. I don't care. Like, it's their choice. They can decide to do whatever they want. And furthermore, I bought the fucking thing. So it's not like, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here and say that, oh, what they're doing is fucking disgusting and I do not support it. It's like a lot of people say that shit. And I think more people are saying that they don't support things, but then they buy the game anyways. I think that's kind of been proven, for a long time now, with just Call of Duty alone. Call of Duty alone has proven that is probably the case, where you have people come out and they say, Call of Duty is shit. It's the same game every fucking year. Who are these idiots? I'm not buying it. I don't know anyone who's buying it, yada, yada, yada. And then Call of Duty is the best-selling game for like a year. It stays in the top 5 of best-selling games until the next Call of Duty comes out the very next year. And then we have the same fucking rinse and repeat conversation. So I think a big part or a big portion of the people who are making these complaints, who are making the videos, who are in the comment sections saying this shit, I think a lot of them are being hypocritical. I can't pinpoint and I can't say for a fact that's what's going on. It just statistically, numbers-wise, that's what it seems like. Everyone hates it, but yet everyone buys it. Or everyone hates it and says they hate it, and it's the best-selling game. So going back to Grand Theft Auto, when they announced that they were going to do a new updated version for PlayStation 5s and the Xbox Series X, I think because the game is so old, I can understand that it would take more effort, cost more money to make that game, to make an updated version. However, what we're talking about here with Rockstar, because I've seen the videos, I've watched it. Furthermore, I was going to buy this. I was going to buy the PS5 version of the Grand Theft Auto 5 because it was only $10. I'm like, what's $10? No big deal. I'll buy it before it goes to $40. The game doesn't look that much better. It really doesn't look like, it looks like it was more ported to the new console and not remastered. It's not like it doesn't look as though they went all in to make this game look fucking great. Like they wanted to make it look significantly better than the previous generation. And that's where my mind was at. That's where my head was when I heard about this. I'm like, ooh, this might be interesting. I would like to go back and play GTA 5 again. The campaign was really fun. Maybe I might even dip into the online. I know some people that love the GTA Online part of the game. But the thing is when I saw the videos, I was like, what the fuck? This doesn't look that much better. It looks like a little bit shinier. It doesn't look like they fucking just redid the graphics to where it looks like it's just like, oh my God, this looks like it was built for PS5. It looks like it was built for current generation. No, it just looks like it was sort of ported up. So that was red flag number 1 for me. Okay. Number 2 was this shit. So Grand Theft Auto Online, there are 2 modes. When you boot the game up, you can go, it's like story mode, and then it's online. The online component of Grand Theft Auto is massive. It's got a huge fucking player base. Grand Theft Auto in general has been one of the best. I think, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the most sold game in console history. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But I know it's like ridiculous amounts of copies of this game have been sold. Furthermore, people have been buying it every generation. So let's just take that argument off the table. Like, they shouldn't be doing this. Why not? People are going to buy it, so why not do it? But them adding a subscription fee to a mode that has been on the fucking game since the PS4 era. It could, because GTA came out, and then the GTA Online component came out sometime later. It was like a year later or 9 months later or something like that. Maybe even longer, I don't know. But it didn't come out. It didn't launch with the game. When it came out, it was just an online mode, a multiplayer mode. They are fucking going to add a $6 subscription fee just to play the online game. So if you buy the game, let's just say you don't catch it at the sales price. You buy it, for PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. After the sale, you're going to pay $39.99, $40 plus tax, so $42, $43. Then you're going to pay $72 for the online over 1 year. And then that's going to compound as the years go by. Furthermore, there are already microtransactions embedded into the online function. So like I said, I started up a character a long time ago. I spent a little bit of time on it. The group of friends that I had at the time, they were really big into it. I didn't feel like it was that great. We did some online racing. We did a couple little things here and there. Messed around in the town and Los Santos and had fun, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't grab me. They were fucking enamored with it. They were showing me their garages and they had all these fucking cool cars, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like the dedication. Props for the effort. You did a good job, but it just wasn't for me. Now they're saying that they're going to fucking charge you $72 a year just to play that fucking thing, while they're still charging you for additional monies for experience boosts, for cars, for in-game currency. This I have a problem with. I really do. And before I go any further, I want to clarify something. I do not like microtransactions. I don't like them. I don't think they're good for gaming. I never liked them from the very get-go. When they first started happening, I knew at that time, I'm like, they are opening the door. They're testing the waters. Not Rockstar, not Grand Theft Auto, just the gaming industry as a whole. Because microtransactions have been around for a really long time now. I have always been against them. And furthermore, I don't really participate too much in them. Like, I buy DLC. The first time I really bought like an experience boost, I would have to say, is Elder Scrolls Online. And that's a different conversation. And I can explain that, maybe not this show, but there's a reason why. And it has to do with the gameplay regardless. But I don't go around buying big lumps of, spending lots of money on microtransactions to up my experience boost and all other shit. Buy weapon skins and outfits and shit. Now, that's just my choice. That's what I do. Okay. I don't like microtransactions. I wish they were not in games. I don't spend money on them. That's my choice. And they are still a mainstay in the gaming industry. Microtransactions are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And the reason why they're not going anywhere is because people use them. People spend their money on them. So, and I would never tell anybody how to spend their money. You can spend your money any way you want. You want to drop $1,000 a year on Grand Theft Auto Online. That's fine. That's your money. Do whatever the fuck you want with it. I'm not here to tell you how to spend your money. Getting back to this to me is fucking grimy. You're now charging people to play a game mode that was free for years. For years. I think this is fucking dirty. I think this is just grimy as fuck, and I can't believe that this is actually a thing. When I read it, I was like, what the are you serious? And the sad part about it is the point I just made. They're here to stay. These sort of in-game transactions with real money, these things aren't going anywhere. And the reason why is because people are going to pay this subscription. They are going to pay this subscription monthly fee because I know it's going to be like, it's $6. What's the big deal? Shit adds up, and that's all they want. They're trying to get more money to come in on a regular basis, and that Netflix style, Amazon Prime style, where you're paying that monthly amount, they're just cashing checks every fucking day, And on top of that, they're still charging you for other things. You're still buying things in the game. And I mean, it's a money game. I get it. I understand that Rockstar is trying to make money. The publisher, Take-Two, they're trying to make money. But this to me is like another level of greed. Like this is taking it to another level. And I can't help but laugh about it because they're going to do it. They're going to continue to do this because people will pay. That's just the bottom line. So let's just talk about this real quick. So the new service called GTA Plus is set to go live on March 29th with the following. Bear with me here. GTA, $500,000, so GTA money. $500,000 will be delivered automatically to your Maze bank account. Your bank account in the game. The principal Divesti 8, along with the complimentary Hayo's special works upgrade for it before it was made available to purchase by the general public, plus the blah, blah, blah. They're talking about some specifics here that I don't even know. The auto shop located in La Mesa introduces an assortment of gameplay updates from Los Santos tuners. Current auto shop owners can relocate to La Mesa at no additional cost. Yacht owners can upgrade to different yachts. I mean, it's just a lot of it's a lot of what's the word? Cosmetics. It sounds like a lot of cosmetic stuff. A selection of free paints and emblems from the auto shop. 3 times the amount of GTA money and RP on Hayo Special Works Race Series. 2 times the car meetup rep on street races. I mean, so they're trying to incentivize here with saying this is what you're going to get. And furthermore, if I'm not mistaken, I think, that $500,000 will be granted to players every month. So you're going to get $500,000 of GTA dollars in your bank account every month. So they are baking in microtransactions into a monthly subscription. That's all they're doing. And people are going to fucking pay for it. And it blows my mind. I can't believe it. And I won't. And furthermore, this totally changed my decision. I was going to buy the $9.99 updated version for PS5 just to have it, to play through it again when I wanted to before it goes to $40 because I wasn't going to pay $40. No, sorry, you're not going to get my $10. And I know that sounds like, oh wow, what are you doing? It's only $10. It's still my $10. I will not subscribe to this in any way. I'm not going to pay for anything for GTA. That game to me, as far as I'm concerned, I enjoyed it. I had fun. It was amazing at its time. I think I got everything I needed out of that game. I have the original version on a disc that I'll play if I ever want to play it again, but I will never pay for anything else, GTA Online or GTA in general, just Grand Theft Auto, unless it's fucking Grand Theft Auto 6. And furthermore, when you look at what's going on with Rockstar and their development cycle, they have been living off of Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto for the last 10 years. Rockstar used to make other games. And I know that Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead are their 2 big tentpole franchises. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those games are great, so continue making them, please. But they used to make other little games along the way. They made I think they made a tabletop tennis game. They made the game Bully. There was a couple other ones. Even LA Noire was like an offshoot of them, even though it wasn't Rocksteady proper, but still. Now it just seems like they are just they don't really give a fuck. At this point in time, the next big announcement from them, in my opinion, should have been Grand Theft Auto 6 is not only is it in development, but here's a little sneak peek, here's some stills, some screenshots or whatever. I just can't get over the fact that this is going to be a thing. And this is going to they're making money every fucking day. I would love to see the financials. I would love to, just to be a fly on the wall while these fucking big wigs sit around a conference fucking table. It's probably cost $50,000 just for the table, just to sit there and count their stacks of fucking gold, because you know they are fucking printing money over there. You're talking about the best selling game, one of the best selling games of all time. Then you have the online component that's generating money on a fucking daily basis. Now you're going to go into a fucking subscription based model to just milk people even more. It's like, man, that's crazy. I just can't believe it. You know, and it sucks because Rockstar used to be, in my opinion, they were one of my top developers of all time, because they were just fucking pushing the envelope. Now they're licking them envelopes and fucking mailing themselves bonuses. That's really all they're doing. It's fucking crazy. I can't get over it. So let's we're going to continue moving along here, because this is sort of like a microtransactions montage here of all these things that I was sort of putting together. So this next piece of this is about Halo Infinite. Now, I haven't played the game, so I'm not here to tell you if it's good or bad. I didn't like what I saw in the trailers and stuff. The reviews that I've watched and I've seen, you know, gameplay and stuff. I still think it's subpar on some levels, but I'm not here to say that it's shit and you didn't make a bad choice by buying the game. That's not what I'm here for. What I am here for is this actually came out a while back. Excuse me, got an itch in my leg. This came out in like February. So, and I was thinking, because Gran Turismo 7 is going through some really big problems here. And I was, you know, taking some notes, putting my thoughts together on that. And I was also like, then Rockstar and their shit. And it kind of got me thinking, like, okay, let me grab one of each. A third party, an Xbox, and a Sony game. And let's kind of combine them all together. So Halo Infinite came out like 6 months ago. Came out to a resounding applause. People loved it. Reviewers oohed and awed over it. I heard nothing but good things. And anything that was negative about the game, it seemed to be at least not enough to cause concern for, you know, the game, in terms of whether or not it's, you know, the score should be dinged for it. Because, and what I mean by that is, there were so many reviews that I listened to where you had people say, this part of the game I didn't like. The antagonist was boring. The mission structure was boring. It was very rinse and repeat. The open world was standard open world stuff. There was nothing really new about it. It was just a fun sandbox to play around, just like any other sandbox. And the storyline throughout was sort of lame. All the reviewers were saying all these things, and then they were saying, but however, it's still a perfect game. It's still a 10. That shit, like I said, I have my qualms with how media handles Xbox right now. I think they handle them with kid gloves. I think they intentionally do it. I think that Microsoft in general is they're not making the best decisions business-wise, and I think that they are the underdog right now, so I think the media is trying to give them a big break. Anything Sony does right now is like fucking scrutinized to fucking a 10 right now. Whatever. The game came out, Halo Infinite came out, and it had its issues. Okay? No one can deny that. And what I mean by that is the online component was what everyone was just going nuts about. It's Halo in its prime. It's back to fucking glory days. It's, you know, the OG is back in the house. Okay, great, that's awesome. And it sounded like a ton of people were loving it. The creators that I was listening to, they were bragging about it. They were going on about how great it was, how fun it was. That's cool, man. That's awesome. Then I started hearing things that I felt were completely getting fucking overshadowed. Like, no one was really talking about them. Number one, the Battle Pass structure. So Battle Pass is like this, you pay this fee and you're going through, like, you pay, like, you get these unlocks throughout the season. It's like a season's event thing. And then you have levels online. So as you're playing the games online, you have different things that you can unlock. A helmet, a shoulder pad, whatever. And cosmetics wise, you're going to unlock the way you look. And there's the structure of that sounded broken. There were some people coming out and saying something's wrong here. The money isn't right. Why are they charging? There were a lot of people unhappy, but it just sort of came and went. That story just came and went. Okay. Then the technical problems were being overlooked. And I was like, what the fuck? These technical issues, what's going on here? Hit detection, there was this desyncing problems and all this other shit. So this game was having its problems online, just generally. But the focus for me was, I'm not worried about those things. Technical problems aside, a lot of games have technical issues. I don't stress over them unless they are fucking game breaking or unless no one talks about them. And so they were brought up in some regard, but for the most part, it was sort of ushered in and out. The thing that I thought was most interesting was the battle pass and the money. And furthermore, there were pieces of the game that were missing. So playing the game co-op with a friend, locally or online, playing through the campaign, that was supposed to come out when the game came out. It didn't come out, and it's not out yet. And they're still promising that. The battle pass restructure, they had to go in and change some of the battle pass stuff, and it's still, to my understanding, it's still broken. And it sounds to me like there's some microtransactions going on in Halo Infinite. And once again, it's just another example of how microtransactions infect a game and how no one is immune to this. And anybody who defends Halo, Grand Theft Auto, GTA, if you defend those pillars, and you can't defend Halo and then say GT7's shit, and you can't defend Grand Theft Auto and say Halo is shit. You can't do that. And I think that's the thing that was bugging me the most, because when it came to the Halo thing, I felt like it wasn't getting talked about enough. Like no one was really talking about it. There was a couple of videos being made, and then it was like, boom, we're moving on. And not only that, but Halo is bleeding online players. They've lost something like 90% of their online players. That when the game came out like 5-6 months ago, it was banging, everyone was playing it, and then the player count has just fucking dropped drastically. That to me is significant, and I think that there's a little bit, I don't think it's all microtransactions. I think that there's other issues, the technical problems, the missing modes, the co-op campaign. I think there's pieces that are missing from the proper game that are affecting that as well. And I from what I understand, that the multiplayer on Halo is fun for a while, and then it starts to become rinse and repeat. It's very lacking. The rewards are very hard to get. Everything is locked behind endless amounts of gameplay, and it's incentivizing players to spend money to bypass it. That sucks. And once again, another example of microtransactions infecting a fucking game. It happened with Grand Theft Auto. Now it's happened with Halo. And Microsoft is they're going right on into it. So this is no longer an EA thing or a Take-Two thing. This is a Microsoft and Sony thing too. So let's move along here, because the next game I want to talk about is a game that I've been playing. I've been coming on here for the past few weeks and talking about this game. Gran Turismo 7 came out. So when the game came out, I'm going to reiterate something that I talked about before. When the game came out, I have played several of these games in the past. I know they're grindy. And I enjoy the grind. It's fun. The racing is, to me, it's the best racing out there in terms of simulation. I don't think there's anything, that can really match it. Grid is one of those ones. I think, what's the other one? There's another one that I was trying to think of. Grid, I think, is a good game. And there's another game I can see it in my head. I just can't see the name of it. But there's other games that do sim-style racing pretty damn good. But still, Gran Turismo, to me, is the best out of those, out of sim games. When the game came out, with the grind and with this channel, I made a conscientious decision that I was going to spend an extra $20 to get that 1.5 million credits, in-game credits, to start the game, so that I could move through the game a little bit quicker and sort of give my weekly review would be a little more substantial. It wouldn't be so much where I'm like, well, I'm still grinding. I've only got one championship and I've got 13 to go, and it's been a month. And it wasn't until so that I wouldn't make Gran Turismo look bad, because I didn't know the transactions were going to be like this. I had no idea going into the game. For myself, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to talk about the game a little more in depth, and I want to get into the weeds in this game. I want to sort of, get into like the heavier, hard-hitting races that are sweaty and fucking, they're like, longer laps, and you really have to, You have to be on it, like you're fucking clutching the controller, having a good time. That's what I wanted to get into. That's the reason why. Okay. You can not believe that if you want. You can say I'm just fucking shilling for I'm saying that I'm being a hypocrite and I'm shilling for Gran Turismo. That's fine if you feel that way. But I'm just telling you that was my mind thinking when I went into it. It was for this channel. Now, the game came out and I talked about this. They being Polyphony, the developer of Gran Turismo 7, they hid the transaction, the way they were monetizing the transactions and how they were the transactions were baked into the game. They hid that from developers, and they hid it from developers, I think, intentionally, so that the game would sell better, so that reviewers couldn't, they couldn't condemn the game for the things that it was doing negatively. And the microtransactions, once again, like I've said before, I don't agree with them, but I understand they're in all games. So I'm just sort of like, okay, it's there. I just don't spend money on them. I did this time and I explained it. They intentionally wanted to keep that information away from the players. That's grimy. I don't like that. I'm not cool with it. When I was playing the game, I was sort of status quo. Like my money was sort of staying pretty steady. I never dropped off the money cliff or anything. I didn't dump all this money because I wasn't going around just buying any car that I wanted. Oh, I'm going to go buy a Ferrari, whatever. I was buying the cars that I needed and doing the upgrades that I needed to progress and win the races that I wanted to race and to unlock and complete the menus that I was given. So to me, it never really affected me. I never really felt like the transactions or that the race loot was poor. I didn't think the rewards for racing the game were bad. Having said that, I want to clear something up because I think there's a little bit of bullshit going on out there. As Joe Rogan would say, there's some fuckery going afoot here. There are people who I've heard people say online, YouTubers or creators, I've heard them say where you have to grind for 10 hours to get $1 million. You have to grind for 15 hours just to get $2 million. I don't know what the fuck they're playing. Even after the update, which I'll talk about in a second, even after the update, that's not true. So, I just ran what do they call it? It's a series of races. It's a championship, sorry. So there's single races where you just go do a single race and earn that rewards as long as you get first, second, and third. You get a payout, but you want to hit that first. So then there's also championship races where you race like 2 races, 3 races, 5 races consecutively, and you can't back out. You have to finish each race, and then if you win, if you get first every time, you get the maximum amount of money, and then when you win the championship, you get an additional prize. So the championship that I just did, which was the very biggest one, it took about an hour to do. So that's no small potatoes. That takes some time, right? It was like $450,000. So 2 of those championships, and you're right at about $1 million. So a couple hours, you get $1 million. Okay. So now we just do the math. So every 2 hours, you could get around $500,000. We'll say 900,000 because it's like, yeah, it's right at 900,000. If you won first, you won the championship, I believe it was right at 450. So 900,000 for 2 hours. To me, that's not a fucking shitty grind. I don't think it is. I really don't. And I'm sure that there's other ways that you could play shorter races and just play single races. And I think the maximum was, I want to say it was like 50, excuse me. I want to say it was like 50,000. And that to me is like 10 minutes, 50,000. You do the math there and it starts adding up. I think that there is some bullshit going on. Some people are saying things that I can say that that's not true. Now, it depends on what you want to race and how much racing you want to do. Again, the loot system or the reward system in the game, I don't think is fucking just appalling. And what I do have a problem with those, they went in and they lowered the amount of money that you will get for the races. For some races, some of the bigger payouts, they lowered them intentionally, and they said, well, we lowered that amount because, we want the cars that are cost like, $10 million to be something hard to get. Well, no shit. And the amount of money that it was at was fine. Like, it was still hard and still took time. You still had to grind to have enough money to get the cars. That I had a problem with that. I think that's grimy. You know what you're fucking doing, Polyphony. You're lowering the amount of rewards that you give so that you can incentivize players to spend real money so they can bypass that speed bump. And furthermore, it's a big speed bump, because we're talking about time here. Time is probably the most precious commodity right now. People only have so much time. And that was another thing for me. As I've said before, I have a full-time job. I can't sit here and say, oh, okay, you know what, I'm going to crush out 12 hours of gameplay real quick. Or I'm going to sit down and do a little 8-hour sesh, and fucking just, get a stack of money and go buy the car that I want. I don't have that fucking time. I really don't. I just don't have that time. I only have the weekends to play, to game. That's it. So, and I have a family, I have responsibilities and stuff. So to me, that felt like a shitty thing to do by Polyphony. And furthermore, Sony is involved in that too. So they're not fucking escaping this. Sony is a piece of this as well. If you're going to fucking brag about and reap the benefits from a great game and a game that sells really well, you're going to take the fucking shit for making fucking dirty moves like this. So I have a problem with that, with the loots or the rewards. Furthermore, I was just looking at my notes. They also incentivize you by these rewards that you can get an invitation to the car dealership, to a specific dealership, like let's say Ferrari as an example. You get an invitation for a car, and the car is rare. It's not a car you can just go buy whenever you want. It's a very specialized car. That car, you only get 7 days. I think it's 7 days to buy that car, and it's really expensive. So if you don't have the $600,000 to buy that car within the next 7 days, that invitation goes away and you don't know when you're going to get that offer again. I've seen those offers come and go. They weren't cars that I wanted. I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't care. But for people who are car collectors in these games, who want all of the cars, that's another avenue, another incentive, that's incentivizing players to bypass, to get that car, because they know it's going to go away for a while. They don't know when it's going to come back. Supposedly it's random. That to me is grimy. That's another thing. That's just one more thing, right? So I think that it's very evident that what Polyphony is doing is some pretty dirty fucking business here. They're trying to push people towards transactions. And when I talked about transactions a couple weeks ago, I said I didn't have a problem with them as long as they weren't pushing people into them. Because to me, as someone who is a great example, as for someone who's like, you know what, I have a full-time job. I'm not fucking living off streaming or anything like that. I have to go to work and then live my life. I only get to game in my downtime. To me, maybe it's worth kicking out $10, kicking out a 20 here and there to sort of keep up with my friends who may have a freer schedule, who may be working from home, who may not have a job. I got no problem with that because, again, it's an option. And I think microtransactions, I think the thing that I want to drive home the most is that these things are fucking choices to be made. You have the choice to spend this money. You have the choice to not spend this money. This right here, though, what Gran Turismo is doing, I really don't think it's a defensible act. I think as a whole, if you look at it as a whole, just like you can look at Grand Theft Auto and Halo Infinite and Gran Turismo 7, as a whole, I think it's safe to say that this is an industry problem. And what I take umbrage with is whenever someone, and I've, like I said, I'm a big comment reader, love reading comments. So when I go to these videos and I listen to people's opinions, I love reading the comments and shit in there. It's so funny because the comment sections on the Halo Infinite video, there's Sony people up in there fucking wagging their fingers in fucking Xbox fans' face. And then the shit talking goes. I love the shit talking. I think it's funny. I don't have any problem with it. I love watching people argue. It's funny, especially in comment sections. They don't have a leg to stand on. If you're a Sony defender, how can you go after Xbox when the shit's going on with Gran Turismo? Vice versa. I'm watching fucking Gran Turismo videos, reading those comments. Xbox fans are up in there just fucking popping off. Ha ha, Sony fucking fanboys, yada yada yada. All this, the normal shit. And yet they're fucking bragging about fucking Halo. And furthermore, I love this one. This one always cracks me up. The go-to is Game Pass. An Xbox player cannot have any sort of discussion, a rational discussion with a Sony fan or a Sony gamer without throwing the Game Pass shit in their face. That shit's funny. And it's going to go away quick because Sony's coming out with Spartacus, which I fucking don't like. I don't like Game Pass. I don't like Spartacus. Yeah, I don't give a shit what Spartacus is. I don't like it. I don't want to fucking see games go down the fucking Netflix rabbit hole. But it's just always funny because that's the argument. It's always like, oh, we have fucking Game Pass. And it's like, you're still fucking paying for it. So you're paying a monthly subscription. You're paying that monthly subscription. You're giving Xbox money every year, every month. There's fucking just money just going out of your account into their account. And furthermore, you're paying additional monies to be, and the other thing too, well, let me finish that thought. You're paying additional monies so that you can increase experience, and these microtransactions are baked inside the games that you're getting on your monthly subscription, Game Pass. Furthermore, those games are not free. I love that fucking argument. It cracks me up when I hear Xbox fans talk about Game Pass and how it's free on Game Pass. It's not fucking free. You're paying a monthly subscription. Netflix is not free. I didn't watch The Sons of Anarchy on Netflix for free. It just happened to be there. I didn't watch Mad Men on Netflix for free. It was just on there. I was paying the subscription. It's not a free fucking thing. So knock that shit off. That shit drives me crazy. But the idea that you're defending Xbox, you're defending Sony, you're defending your stable without looking at the landscape as an objective gamer. And that sort of brings it, like, I think that's the point that I want to make. I want to bring it home with this. Games are expensive to make. Everyone knows that. They're not cheap, okay? I don't have a problem paying $60-$70 for a game. I really don't. You know, it's worth my time. It's my hobby. It's what I'm going to do. Just like I don't have a problem going to a movie theater. Well, I have more of a problem nowadays because there's just so much agenda bullshit out there. But it's just like when I go to the movie theater and I drop $30 for tickets. I drop another $30 at the concession stand. So, me and Normie wife go see a movie. That's $50-$60 out of my pocket. But we're going to see a movie that I want to go see. It's like, cool. I'm all good with it. Everything's fine. I don't have any problems spending that money. That's something I want to do. It's my downtime. It's escapism. I want to do that. I feel the same way about games. Video games are the same fucking thing. And they make a ton of fucking money. They have always made a ton of fucking money. These studios are raking in the cash. The publishers are raking in the money. I'm okay with that. I have no problem with paying for good entertainment. What's happening right now is across the board. So Sony fans, Xbox fans, get this as an understanding. Get this into your head. They are all going down the hole of money. That's where we're headed. With Game Pass, with fucking this Project Spartacus, or whatever the fuck it's going to be, with microtransactions and the whole lot, it's all made to get more money out of your account. That's all this is, okay? I have a problem with that as someone who, I like art in all forms, musicians, artists who paint, writers, actors. Directors. I have no issue. I love that sort of creative imagination side of it. We are heading down a path that I believe is heading towards the corporate overlord cyberpunk future, the dystopian future that no one's fucking paying attention to because we're so focused on defending our lot. We're so focused on attacking the other team. I think people really need to pay attention to that because I think it spreads out in more things than just gaming. I think it happens in politics. It's all designed. It's all a design that we are rushing to a team. We are pulling into a group and we're saying we are with these people and we're going to defend these people. It's like a club. When really you should be looking at the landscape as a whole. You should be looking at gaming as a whole and paying attention to what they're fucking doing. Because Game Pass, which I have a problem with Game Pass. I understand it's a great value and all this other shit. I've said this a million fucking times. The Game Pass formula is not sustainable. It's not going to last. Okay, it can't last forever. Microsoft is super rich. Okay, they're making tons of fucking money. They're bragging about it. They're buying up fucking publishers. But did anybody stop to think of why Microsoft is buying publishers? Because when they bring a game onto Game Pass, day one, they are taking sales away from that game. They are taking that $60, $70 off the fucking table. And they're saying, you know what? You pay $10 this month, you get to play this game for quote free. For $10, you get to play that game. So for $70 a year or whatever that amount was again, you get to play this game and other games too. That game is losing. It is losing money. Okay? Where do you think this goes? Do you think they're just fucking doing it out of the goodness of their heart? No. Microsoft is sliding fucking stacks of cash across the table saying, we'll pay you this amount of money if you publish your game on ours, that you publish your published game comes on our platform and you let us charge this $70 a year, $72 a year. That is not sustainable. It's not going to last. At some point, it can't just keep generating. They can't keep just dumping money into publishers, right? So cut out the middleman. Go buy the publisher. That's what I would do. That's the smart thing. That's what I would do if I had the money, and Microsoft has the money. They're going in that now. They're starting to buy publishers, and everyone's so focused about like, oh yeah, see, we get fucking Elder Scrolls. It's all Microsoft, baby. You got to have an Xbox. You got to have a PC. You know, oh, the next fucking Fallout game, the Starfield. It's all fucking, and this is such a great win for fucking Microsoft. They are buying publishers for a reason. Okay, these aren't just studios now, and Sony's going to go that way too. Sony is following suit. They will be buying publishers. I believe that through and through, because once you take the publisher out of the equation, then it's all in-house. Now you're going to have two major corporations running the fucking table, and we're just going to pay the subscription fee. I think that's not good. I think it's bad for gaming in general, because I think that quality will go down. I think quality has gone down in Microsoft's side, and no one's fucking paying attention. Everyone's so worried about defending Xbox. Everyone's so worried about bragging about Games Pass value that they're not fucking looking at the obvious things here. They're looking at how their team is doing, one up on the other team. Their green is going up against blue, and green is starting to win. So look how great it is. No one's paying attention to the fact of what's going on with Halo Infinite. That's just this is getting lost. Everyone just still brags about how Halo Infinite's so awesome. They're not talking about the microtransactions, the fucking desync problems. They're not talking about the online game fucking the multiplayer fucking bleeding gamers and shit. They're not talking about that shit. All they brag about is how Game Pass is awesome. Okay, the game wasn't ready. They're missing modes. That game was not ready. You know. And then you go over here. You look at Sony. Sony just launched a fucking game. I really love the game. I really love the play of the game. I've sunk a lot of hours into it. I've had fun with it. But I'm not going to sit here and point my guns at the fucking green side and say, whoa, at least we're not doing like the green. No, the blue side's doing it too. Sony's doing the same fucking thing. This is an industry problem. This is an industry issue. And I think people really need to step aside, step away from your team for just a second and look at the industry as a whole. Okay, because and furthermore, and you know, if you've seen my fanboys video, I've always thought that having fans for Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, I've always thought that that's good for the industry, because it generates buzz, it generates it gives the fuel to the fire for like, yeah, I'm gonna go support my squad, I'm gonna go buy that game, you know, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna spend money, it's worth it because they're doing the thing that I want them to do. I think that's totally fine. I think it's natural. I think it's good. I think it's good for the industry. I think having fans in different stables is good. I think having agnostic players out there as well is good for the industry, who are buying all the systems. That's great. Good for you. That's a good thing. But where we are right now, in the financial landscape that we are in right now, in this industry, I think people really need to pay attention. Okay? Look at it objectively as you can, and just pay attention. They're all guilty of it. They're all making the same fucking mistakes. And it's all generated, and these mistakes are being made intentionally to generate money. Okay? This is a plan. They are doing this as a plan, and it's coming. It's coming. Microsoft, what I see going on with Microsoft and the quality of their games and the fucking studios they can't manage for shit. Xbox fans, it just cracks me up because they just totally ignore the fact that their games aren't that good, that their game of the years have been non-existent for a decade, and that all they go to, the well they always go to, is Game Pass. Game Pass. You don't have Game Pass. On the other side, Sony, quality games coming out, bangers, fucking AAA studio shit, great stories, characters, yada yada yada, all this good shit. Then they slide in Gran Turismo 7. They pull this shit. Then they fucking say they're going to start doing the Game Pass, competition with Spartacus. What do you think's going to happen? And again, there is a chance that Sony is just going to be like, yeah, we're going to do this online thing. We're going to do it differently, and they're going to do it their own way. And maybe they find the secret sauce that is the perfect balance between full-on Game Pass and making real content that players really want to pay for. Okay? That is possible. I'm not saying it isn't possible, but right now the talk is this is going to compete with Game Pass. So I have to assume it's going to be Game Pass-like. If it's dressed like Game Pass, I'm assuming it's Game Pass. Okay? The same thing is going to happen. Now again, these two corporations, they're doing two different things. All right. I just think that when you look at third-party studios like Rockstar and their publisher Take-Two, and you look at games like Halo Infinite, you look at games like Gran Turismo 7, you look at them as a whole, and I think that the thing to remember with these corporations is that we make them, and we can also break them. We can take away their money by keeping our money in our pockets. It's that simple. If you are against microtransactions, okay, now I'm going to be very clear. I don't like microtransactions, but I've come to terms that they're just here. So I buy tons of games that have them. I just don't spend money on them. That's my way of being like, well, I'm not going to spend money on it. Now, I could go a step further and say, I'm not buying those fucking games anymore. And I can go ask for a refund for Gran Turismo 7, but I'm not going to. It's too late. I'm not trying to fucking put the toothpaste back in the tube on that one. But if you really wanted to take away from these corporations and what they're doing, don't fucking buy the games that have microtransactions. Don't buy the games that have a monthly subscription fee. Okay? Don't do it. Because they will do, and they will try to get away with what you will pay for. If someone is willing to buy it, you can find someone who's willing to charge it. That's the rule. And the thing with these corporations is they, very much like children, will get away and try to get away with everything you let them get away with. A child will push the perimeters. They want to know what their boundaries are. They will reach their hand into the cookie jar until you explain to them, or however you want to show them that you can't do this. Till you teach them that that's a no, not happening. Okay? Corporations are the same way. Every fucking time you buy into this shit, you're telling them it's okay. So why would they stop? They're not going to stop. Trust me. They are going to be making money through and through. It's never going to change. There's my dog. Dana, what are you doing in here? What are you doing? She's come wandering in here. Get your butt out of here, big baby. But I think that's probably, I'm going to wrap it up there. Maybe that was an omen. Athena coming in here as my dog. I just think that it's important that we pay attention to the landscape as a whole, the industry as a whole, and stop. And it's okay to banter with kids and have debate. Kids, sorry, that wasn't a shot. To banter with others and have those debates about console wars and stuff like that. I think it's healthy debate. I think it's really good, and I enjoy debating with people. It's fun. It's good for your mind. It's good for your soul. It's to share opinions and to listen. And I think a lot of people right now just aren't listening. No one's really listening and paying attention to the landscape. They're just they're in their Xbox hoodie, or they got their fucking PlayStation t-shirt on, and or Nintendo. I mean, Nintendo, they're not immune. They're a corporation too. You know, they could slide in here at some point as well. But regardless, you know, they do have the eStore and the eShop store, which, you know, I kind of left off because they are doing some things too that I think are, you know, they do some dirty too with the money shit, and they try to get, you know, they want to get paid. But I just think that we need to, as gamers, as a community, sort of, I wish more people would pay attention, and I wish more people would, you know, if you don't like these things, don't fucking support them. And I think a lot of people who are out there voicing their opinions, they either don't even play the game, or they haven't even, like, they're people who are playing GTA Online, they're still going to play the game, and they're like playing it online, bitching to their friends, you know, online, like, can't fucking believe I just paid $6 for this fucking GTA Online. It's like, well, why'd you pay? You know, that's the thing. You can just turn it off. So, but I'm going to leave it there. All right, so I appreciate you taking the time. Hope you liked the video. If you did, share it with a friend. If you didn't like the video, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time. I want you to have a great week. Today is Sunday, so tomorrow's Monday. You know how Mondays are. Enjoy your week. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, click the button and click the notification bell. I will talk to you next week. Next weekend, actually. So have a great week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.